have the absolute pleasure of interviewing Julie Menden, who is a colleague and friend of mine and is a business and mindset coach, leadership and performance coach, and speaker. She helps executive and entrepreneurial leaders overcome their self-doubt and limiting thoughts so they can step into clarity, confidence, and drive results to reach their peak performance and have joy and fulfillment along the way. As a corporate professional turned entrepreneur and coach, Julie has a particular passion for helping other women realize all they are capable of when they build the courage to pursue what they desire, step into their confidence, and develop a mindset dialed into success. Ooh, Julie, you and I have had some amazing conversations. So welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, and I agree. I feel like we could talk about so many things
I know, I
together.
know. We were originally talking about having a part one and part two of this show. So we'll see how we go today. And
Mhm.
if we keep going, then maybe we'll have to come back for a round two.
I know.
So let's talk a little bit about how you went from the corporate world into the entrepreneurship world and coaching, because as I went through this myself recently, I'm always interested to hear other women's stories of when they really stepped into their power and left the corporate handcuffs, as I like to call them, to do their own thing.
Oh, I love how you say that even. And right, to meet other women who have been through this because it is such a journey, not only the steps of what that takes and looks like, but obviously as someone who's geeks out on mindset, just like the mindset shifts that you have to do when you go through that journey. So I'm definitely this like corporate to coach story where I worked in corporate for 7 years and I was climbing the ladder. I was very much so that corporate ladder climber where I had a new position every year for 6 years. I was getting promotions, I was working hard, but I also was supported by some great leaders and mentors, and truly felt like I was going to be there forever. I always like to, for frame of reference for people, let them know that I had no desire or inkling or even a bone in my body that was dialed towards starting my own business until about like 3.5 years ago. It was not part of my mindset. I didn't think I could do it. I was very much so this corporate mentality. And what I found, and what I found a lot of other women have gone through, is it slowly happened that I started to lose myself. I started to lose my passion. And one of the things that I said when I left was, my heart just isn't in this anymore. I felt like I had more I wanted to do, and I no longer was feeling that passion for what I was doing. And that's truly what sparked my what do I want to do next? And I worked in leadership development. I was exposed to coaching and the impact and power of coaching. And so, honestly, that's where it really started that effect. I started looking into coaching, getting certified as a coach, and went, I think I can do this. And that's how it stemmed.
Wow, what a story. So what was it that sparked you into making the actual decision? Like what was the moment that you were like, wait, I can do this?
Oh, that's such a good question. I am as I always say, a recovering perfectionist. So I am one of those people that is like, I needed all the information. Before I made a decision, I would think about it. I would talk about it on end to my husband and to everybody else that would listen. And as many women do, I would get everybody else's opinions. And so when I started to feel that I was no longer meant to be where I was, I felt very lost. And I knew that I had a passion for speaking. I would see when we would bring other people into the corporate office to speak on stage, I would look at them and say, I'm going to be doing that someday. But I never actually knew that I could. And so it really started through a lot of different things that were going on. I felt totally overwhelmed. I felt really stressed as a new leader. And just a lot of different things that were happening. I literally remember the day. It was October, and I was taking a walk with my husband, and I had taken half of the day off because of so many things that was going on at work. And I was totally burnt out and overwhelmed. And that was the day that I decided I will no longer do this. I don't fully know what that next step is. And so for me, I'm someone who sort of made a transition plan. So I left the full time corporate space and I went to a part time position. still working in leadership development, and I started to build my business from there. So for me, that really gave me the safety net to give me that sort of runway to building my
Yeah,
business.
interesting. Yeah, it's funny that you say that actually, because I'm working with a client right now who's going through a similar journey. Was working in corporate for 17 years and was a high level HR executive. And same thing, she just got to a burnout point where she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Took a part-time role so that she could transition and cover her income to the point where she could take
Mhm.
on one-on-one clients or personal clients in a consulting business. So I think that's probably a good way to go for people that aren't, quite ready to just fully jump into entrepreneurship, but maybe
Mhm.
take a stepping stone in. So now that
Mhm.
you are in this coaching space and leadership and performance is really your niche, as we were talking about before we started recording. So what are the type of clients that you work with, and what are some of the things that they would, like, the triggers that would get them to come and work with you? Or is it employers that get them to come in? How does that work?
Say I find myself with two sort of distinct client areas. So in general, when it comes to the common challenge or dream that people come to work with me is, one of the biggest things is confidence in themselves and their ability to achieve this goal that they have. Like that is really, I would say almost everybody that I work with, confidence really comes up. And from a leadership side, working with leaders and executives, whether that be in a corporate environment or leaders who have their own businesses, that they are showing up as a leader in their business and they want to grow in their personal leadership. What does it look like to really figure out who I am and what I want out of my life and out of my career and my business? And how do I lead and impact others? And so that is definitely one piece. And then the other piece is a lot of women in business, which again, it just tends to be this confidence piece as they're growing their businesses. What does it look like to show up as a leader in my business? What does it look like to believe and truly believe that I can do this and have the confidence to reach out to people for business, to ask for what I want, to speak up about things that I have to say? And that is a common thread, whether you are an executive working in corporate or you are someone who's building a business. Having that sort of conviction and confidence to really speak up and own your voice and own your space is something that we work a lot on, and a lot of the mindset piece. Like with that confidence, it's how do I really dial my mindset in to be able to see things as opportunities instead of always being focused on problems, because that is where that burnout and overwhelm comes from.
Yeah, I love that you said that. And because the burnout and overwhelm piece is such a big part of just work in general, whether you're self-employed or whether you're a corporate, employee, because what happens is when we are pushing ourselves to constantly strive to that next level, and we're taking on more and more work by, trying to prove ourselves. And as you mentioned, getting that promotion year after year after year, always stepping into a new role, it can be very challenging sometimes to remove yourself from a situation and look at it from the outside looking in and having more clarity around it, as opposed to just doing the doing, and being reactive and just getting
Mhm.
through the work instead of looking at it from a holistic approach. And what I find is that a lot of people will go through this and then they will reach that point where they're like, okay, now I need to do something different because this level of output is not sustainable for me. Right. And
Mhm.
I would love to hear how you work with clients on, I think, really like the mindset piece of getting them clarity on what they want out of life. Because I think a lot of people that I work with, the one of the most challenging exercises that I do with them really is their vision exercise, because they're so used to just doing work that they don't actually look at what drives them. And I love what you were saying before about how you stepped into this entrepreneurship role. It's like you knew there was something bigger and better out there. You just weren't sure quite exactly what it was, but you saw these other speakers. I don't know if I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but like how do you help them with that mindset piece to get clarity on what it is that fires them up.
No, I love all of the points that you just made. And one thing that I would zone in on that you said is around this idea of doing, right? Especially, I would say the majority of the clients that I work with, and I think the clients that you work with as well, the people you work with, they are high achieving, ambitious individuals. And myself included, and I think you as well. And what we know to be true about typically that personality is it's this hustle, it's this grind, it's I've got to get to the next goal, I've got to do the next thing. And so the majority of the clients that I work with are already very successful, quote unquote, successful in their definition of success or what they thought it was. And so a big point that I make is when I'm working with clients, I'm not coming in and doing performance coaching for like underperforming individuals or things like it's people who are successful, who are high achieving, and yet they want to get that to that next level, and or they have this success but they don't feel successful. I have multiple clients who are very high level executives, have multiple companies that they run. And from an external perspective, man, do they look successful, but they don't feel that way or they are burnt out. And I think what you said is sometimes we're so busy in that doing, in that next goal, that we don't zoom out to see sort of that bird's eye view of, is this even the path I still want to be on? And I think that's where I was too, where it was, well, I'm going to work hard and I'm going to give all that I can, and this is what I'm supposed to do. And until I gave myself that space to sort of zoom out and see, but is that the road that I want to go down anymore? Or do I want to go down somewhere else? And as you mentioned, I think people have a hard time seeing that because it's this, well, what do you mean I could do something else? Or this is just normal. That's a lot of the times what people will say is, well, no, I'm driven by stress. When I'm more stressed out, I get more done. And in reality, that is a quick road to that burnout and to losing the passion for something that maybe you were really passionate about before. So I think I like to give, I'm a pretty visual person, so I like to give that visual for people. Like if you are just head down going down this road and you're never zooming out to really see where is that road taking you and is it still where you want to go, that is the first step.
Yeah, yeah. Is it still where you want to go is a big question,
Mhm.
because I think, as we progress in our careers, and like you said, you're working with high performance individuals, and ditto, I'm working with, a lot of clients that are really mid to upper level career
Mhm.
clients. And a lot of times they will come to me and they're just like, I don't love my job. I'm stressed. I'm working until 8 p.m., 9 p.m. every night. I don't have a healthy relationship with my partner. I want to spend more time with my kids. And they're doing it because there's this societal, pressure of success, of what it looks like to be an account executive or a director or a this or that. And the status or the job title, the job description outweighs the drive, right?
Mhm.
Outweighs the passion, outweighs it's more of an ego metric, if anything, and obviously the pay. But what happens is people get stuck in this hamster wheel
Mhm.
and they don't see what else is out there for them. And I know that happened to me. I was like, as soon as I got promoted to financial planner and I started getting my own clients, and I was like, but I want to have more impact. And I'm not having as much impact as I can have right now by only seeing somebody twice a year and yet charging them 20 grand a year,
Mhm.
right? For fees and stuff. So it's interesting that you say this about, is this the path that they really want to be on? And the next piece that I want to touch on really is about building that confidence to saying, this is actually not for me. And I see something bigger and better out there. And I know that's something that you work on with your clients. So I'd love you to touch on that and how you empower your clients with the confidence piece, and maybe what some of the things are that they lack confidence in,
Mhm.
that you work through to get them to that level.
Yeah. And that's so true, right? Like that's where we could talk about all that stuff. There's a lot of similarities in terms of
Yeah.
you're on this path, and I think the ego is a big part. Like, well, I've made a name for myself, or this is what I told people I was doing, and now if I don't do this, what
Hmm.
are other people going to think? And right, that's all coming into that confidence. So in terms of just I think some of the common struggles with confidence, or some of the common things that we would work through around that is, if you find yourself, I think part of the thing is feeling empowered to have a choice. I think a lot of people feel as though everything is outside of their control. And there are a whole lot of things that are outside of our control, but we also have control of a lot of things. And so a lot of the times what we'll talk about is what what do you not have control of and what do you have control of. And so if I'm hearing somebody consistently talk about their burnout, or I'm hearing somebody consistently talk about how overwhelmed they are or how unhappy they are with a certain situation or a certain thing that's going on, it's really digging into, well, where is that really coming from? And what is it that you can do to help see the opportunity in the situation, as hard as it might be? And I think when people start to feel like they have a choice, then already even just knowing they have a choice starts to open up their mind to seeing more choices. Because a lot of the times what happens is, when we are feeling negative emotions, when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're feeling stressed, when we're feeling less than, or uh, even for the people who do really like their role, they love this job, or they love this business that they have, but they're not being as successful because they keep getting in their own way. That is often a big thing when you're feeling those negative emotions, like you're not able to do this, or that you're that imposter. Then that's all we see. You're in like this tunnel vision, and all you're now seeing is all the things you're doing wrong, or you're now all you're seeing is all the ways that other people are better than you.